This winter is about to kick into high gear as a series of atmospheric river events impacts the West Coast with very heavy rain and some higher winds. That moisture moves inland within the zonal flow with very warm temperatures for the south and Arctic air to the north, and that conveyor belt of moisture in the battle zone will take shape over portions of the upper Midwest as well as into the Ohio Valley and into areas of the mid-Atlantic with some significant icing. At the same time, we've got a polar vortex stretching event happening, and that could intensify to even a split as we head into late next week. So we got a lot to cover in this update. Take a look at the water vapor imagery this morning. There is the conveyor belt of moisture that's impacting especially areas in northern California, southern Oregon there. Very heavy rains coming in off the coast. That moisture spreads inland with snow and some significant icing unfolding as we head into Wednesday, especially into Thursday. And we could even have another system going to be trailing behind that one. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in to get all my daily content on this channel to keep you well ahead of the storm. So let's take a look at some of those sharp temperature gradients, folks. Yes, depending on where you live, it's spring fever further south across a good part of the Southwest into Texas, as well as into the Southeast into Florida. You're seeing numerous record highs actually and very warm temperatures, and it's completely the opposite to the north where you're locked into that Arctic air, single digits for high temperatures across the north. And there's the battle zone that is going to be taking shape as we got that shallow colder air continuing to sink a little bit further south as the warm air tries to compete in lifting some of those south winds, and that creates the battle zone that takes shape. But what happened yesterday is really extreme, folks. This is the North American view, and yeah, we're talking it hit 104 degrees down there in Mexico. At the same time, we were minus 51 below zero in northern Canada. That's 155 degree swing, folks. This is what we're dealing with. All right, this is what we're dealing with. We got full-blown spring, if not summer, well to the south, and we've got full-blown winter to the north, and that's the battle zone that we're talking about. So here's the atmospheric river that's been pummeling the West Coast. We've got more heavy rain coming in this morning. At some point this morning, we're going to be looking at 1 inch per hour rainfall rates in Northern California. Obviously, that's going to cause numerous issues with mudslides and just very heavy rain and flood warnings impacting across areas of San Francisco. That moisture moves inland, and as it does, it's going to create a potential ice storm up here and across Iowa and as well as into Illinois. So we had that shallow colder air come sink a little bit further south. That's why you're actually cold there in Oklahoma today. Doesn't last long, folks. It actually backs up as a warm front, and as this actually backs up as a warm front, that's what's going to cause the icing that's likely going to unfold into Wednesday night heading into Thursday. So this gets going across areas of Iowa, back into areas of, getting into northern Illinois. And this will only intensify as the sun sets there in Indiana. And right now we do have significant widespread freezing rain that could likely unfold off spanning across the Midwest into areas of the northern mid-Atlantic region, getting into areas of Wednesday as well as into Thursday, and then a little bit more significant icing unfolding with a good 40 to 70% chance of more than a 1/4 inch of ice accretion, folks. That is dangerous stuff. It's impossible to drive on that. And then we're talking power outages likely unfolding across western areas of Maryland, back into West Virginia Panhandle, as well as in the northern and central and southern portions of Pennsylvania. Just gets crushed with significant icing, unfortunately, with this system. And that just continues to lift out and move on. But that would likely be mainly Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, especially there into Thursday, with significant freezing rain that likely leads to icing, if not some significant icing unfolding with power outages. Is definitely a huge concern up there into that region. But look at the jet stream, folks. This is what we're working with, all right? I mean, I know you're people commenting and saying, hey, it's like full-blown 84 degrees down there in Dallas, which it was yesterday. We're breaking records all day long, folks. That is the block. That's the block that's unfolding, that's happening with very warm anomalies to the south and very cold anomalies to the north. And there's the battle zone, the jet stream that's traversing across from west to east. And that is what's setting up the shop for that significant icing across the Ohio Valley. But we could be looking at another event that trails behind that one. So this one still continues into Thursday night across more northern portions of Pennsylvania, getting into lower portions of upstate New York. And then all this goes into areas of Massachusetts, Connecticut, there into Rhode Island. And then it's just nothing but heavy snow that's going to be unfolding northern side of upstate New York, getting into Vermont, New Hampshire, and there into Maine just gets crushed with very heavy snow. So we do have a polar vortex stretching event unfolding. That's why we've got such sharp temperature gradients to the north. That's why it's well below zero, and to the south, it's nothing but like springtime down there, folks. That's what we're working with. Now, this is the stratosphere, so it takes time to get down to the mid levels of the atmosphere. What we're looking at right now is about 20 miles up in the atmosphere. So that's going to sink further south. You're already still feeling the effects of some of that colder air up into Canada in the northern tier. But as this continues to press, and it will continue to press, and then once some of the teleconnections go negative, then that's when the dam breaks. And that's when some of that colder air will start being able to funnel further south into those areas across the southern plains. That's likely going to unfold on your Super Bowl Sunday. So let's walk through the details here. Here is the NAO, which is your North Atlantic Oscillation. Notice it's positive, right? But that stretching event is finally going to linger and start pulling down some of those colder anomalies. And once it hits negative there on the 9th, right? That's Super Bowl Sunday. That's going to cause the dam to break. That battle zone that I showed you here, that's what's going to allow you the colder air to sink further south. And then those areas across the south will start feeling the effects of some of those colder air that we're talking about. We've been talking about on this channel. And look what happens after that. It stays negative, folks. So once you turn cold, I think you're going to be colder for an extended period of time. So here's the setup on the AO, which is your Atlantic, Arctic oscillation, continued negative, almost like falls off the chart, right? By the time we get to the middle of the month. So we've got a lot of pieces of the puzzle starting to come together and saying, hey, this dam right here, this blocking mechanism that separates basically spring and winter, that's eventually going to break. So here's the setup on, this is Saturday night, right? And that's why we potentially have another potential ice setup on Saturday heading into Sunday morning across the Ohio Valley, because the same setup is continued to locked in place. So on Saturday, further south, Oklahoma, Texas, you're going to be talking about like some record high temperatures. Hey man, I was like in the 80s, like 85 degrees, crazy stuff. That's what's going to happen, folks. That is what's going to happen. At the same time, we're going to be having significant icing again unfolding across the same areas, Ohio Valley, getting into mid-Atlantic, West Virginia, Pennsylvania just gets crushed again. So we got Wednesday night into Thursday, and then we have another system onto Saturday night heading into Sunday morning with more significant icing, more power outages, just dangerous travel. So it's going to be a bumpy ride up there across the mid-Atlantic, to say the least. And look at some of the ice accretion that we're talking about with the combination of two events that's likely going to unfold over the next couple of days through your Super Bowl Sunday. We've got icing over Iowa, icing over, southern portions of Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. Ohio. But once you get into northern portions of Virginia, West Virginia, especially almost the entire state there of Pennsylvania, unfortunately just gets crushed with significant icing with a compounding effect. You could be seeing a quarter-inch with that first system. You could be looking at maybe another quarter-inch with that second system to lead to a half-inch of ice accretion between the two systems. New Jersey getting up into New York. I mean, this is a nasty event with this ice. It's just, going to be dangerous to travel on. But there's the dam breaking. This is Sunday Super Bowl. Now we're talking highs in the 40s down there in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi. These areas were going to be locked into the 70s and widespread 80s for between now and Saturday. But all things change as we head into Sunday, as that dam will finally break down and then you're starting to be feeling the effects of winter, right? Further south. And that's just going to pull the storm track further south as well. So we have another disturbance. And I don't even think these models are cold enough yet, right? I don't think they see the true impact of what's coming with this system, especially with the elongation of the polar vortex and the teleconnections going negative. But nonetheless, we've got a pretty significant third winter storm that could likely unfold across Nebraska, Oklahoma, into the Texas Panhandle. I think this even sinks a little bit further south than this. I think Arkansas gets in the mix, much of Missouri. I think much of Kentucky gets in the mix with this system, gets into Illinois, Indiana, Ohio again. Now we're talking snow. We're not talking ice. We're talking snow with this third system that comes through. This would be next Tuesday. And then the cold air gets trapped. So the cold air continues to funnel further south. And then that ridge that's been locked across the southeast will finally lose its grip as well as the cold air presses. So once that dam breaks, there's nothing to really stop this cold air continue to funnel further south. So you got to have the dam to break the first before that actually happens. And once that does, then all systems go with the cold air funneling further south. And then we have the split that goes on into the polar vortex up in the stratosphere. So it starts off as an elongation with the stretching event, but then we have a little bit more something more significant potentially unfolding by the 12th up in the stratosphere. So this takes a little bit of time. So we're talking, this could be lingering for the rest of February, even into March, with this colder air continuing to drain down from the stratosphere through the mid-Atlantic. So I think we have, our milder winter that's unfolding right now across the South. But I think things turn cold, if not almost really cold, once some of this split gets back into the North America, Europe first, North America, and then it goes into the lower 48 by the time we headed towards the late and end of February. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update while I protect you before and after the storm.